This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by our friends over at ease.com, California's top one-stop website for legal marijuana delivery, as well as an option for the same for folks living in the Portland, Oregon area. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Friday, August 23rd, 2019, and you're tuned in to episode 783 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. We end this week's news in New York City, where, according to reporting by the Queens Daily Eagle, 94% of all people arrested in New York City in the first 6 months of this year for low-level marijuana crimes were Black or Latinx. Those numbers are pulled from NYPD arrest stats and come as the city and state has transitioned to mostly decriminalizing marijuana. The district attorneys of Brooklyn and Manhattan announced earlier this year that they would stop prosecuting people for cannabis possession charges, but the Queens district attorney has not. This is a stark reminder that the system is still very much broken and still very much racist. There's a lot of work remaining to be done. Read this story. Task and Purpose, a website that covers all things military, has our second top story up about a recent comment made by Patricia Duster, director of the Human Performance Laboratory at the Uniformed Services University at the Health Sciences in Bethesda, Maryland, who warned that every member of every branch of the military is forbidden from taking all forms of CBD products, with the exception of FDA-approved CBD drug Epidiolex. We've touched on this one a bit recently, as the Coast Guard, Navy, and Air Force have all issued individual warnings similar to this one, with the main reason cited being the possibility of accidentally ingesting THC, which does show up on a drug test. Kyle Yeager over Marijuana Moment has today's final top story with pickup of news out of Florida of a new campaign to collect signatures for a ballot measure to legalize adult use marijuana. The new Make It Legal Florida campaign is backed by California-based marijuana company MedMen and filed paperwork earlier this month to place a question on next year's ballot to set up a taxed and regulated cannabis sales program. In order to qualify for the ballot, a total of 766,200 valid signatures need to be collected. MedMen's campaign joins another effort to push for legalization that's called Sensible Florida, that by Kyle's reporting already has around 80,000 signatures collected for its question. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz it on headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, ease.com, California's top one-stop website for legal marijuana delivery, as well as an option for the same for folks living in the Portland, Oregon area. Pop over to ease.com today to check out their ever-changing daily deal, which gives you 30% off the cost of select items from Humboldt Farm, 777, Select, Jetty, Bad Apple, S Shots, Punch Edibles, Apothecana, Loud Pack, and Cookies. Just use the discount code EB30 when you check out with those select items to get your discount. And then scroll down and scope out all the other legal cannabis products up for delivery in the parts of California and Portland, Oregon, where Ease is active. And if you're outside those two areas, then check out easewellness.com, which delivers professionally curated hemp-derived CBD products via the mail to 43 U.S. states, as well as the District of Columbia. Big thanks to everyone at Ease for the support that keeps our news engines running. All right, time for the Blitz. Alaska Governor Mike Dunleavy's office announced yesterday that former Marijuana Control Board member Bruce Schulte was being renamed back to the board after he was removed by former Governor Bill Walker. The appointment of Mr. Schulte was made after Dunleavy's earlier pick of an anti-cannabis prohibitionist was rejected by lawmakers. The Los Angeles Cannabis Regulation Commission sent a request over to the LA City Council yesterday that they pass legislation allowing the commission to physically lock up and barricade unlicensed marijuana businesses. Los Angeles is in the midst of converting its largely unlicensed marijuana industry over to a regulated and licensed one, and the request for the power to bar up offending businesses is part of that overall drive. Vermont Public Radio wrote about the increasing popularity in that state of hemp that you can smoke. It's been kind of a long-running assumption that the only thing you get from smoking hemp is a headache, but we've seen that old trope flipped on its head recently, especially since the turn of the year as the 2018 Farm Bill lifted federal prohibition on low-THC industrial hemp. With cannabis strains now being bred specifically to have high CBD and low THC, it's possible to legally purchase and smoke marijuana that looks like the kind of high THC cannabis that gets you high. Fans of smoking CBD flower have various reasons for doing so, from its quicker delivery time for getting CBD into the body to the relaxed feeling one gets from the practice. Other people say they just like smoking cannabis without getting high. I think this is a sleeping giant kind of story that's worthy of attention. Open this one up today. Mr. T has filed a lawsuit against marijuana company and strain listing site Leafly for the use of his name, Mr. T, to promote a certain cannabis strain called Mr. Tusk in its directory listings. TMZ picked up on this one as it obtained the documents filed by Mr. T's lawyers. Seems like he has a pretty reasonable case here. We'll report back with any interesting updates. Kyle Yeager over at Marijuana Moments has another headline today with a story about an article that was just published in the journal Environmental Health Perspectives that comes to the rather common sense conclusion that consumers are safer when they buy and use cannabis from legal and regulated markets rather than the illicit market, which has zero regulations. What makes that especially interesting is the fact that the journal Environmental Health Perspectives is funded in part by the federal agency, the National Institute of Health. Even the federal government is starting to notice that the federal government's policies are bad. The Canadian province of Ontario just held a second lottery to award 42 marijuana dispensary licenses, bringing the province's total up to 75. I mentioned when I first reported on that storyline that Ontario officials said it could be the last time licenses were given out by lottery. Marijuana Business Daily's Matt Lamers has a good update on that, as he's clarified with the Office of Ontario Attorney General Doug Downey that future licenses will be given out, quote unquote, based on market demand. And finally for today, we keep our sights up in Canada, where Cannabis Now has a good story looking at the complicated relationship legal cannabis has with First Nations communities. Canada's Native people who have long been persecuted by the federal government, much in the same way as the United States has long harmed its Native people. One of the bigger complications First Nations people have to work out with federal authorities over cannabis is dispensary licensing. There are deeper issues around sovereignty here that I don't have the background nor the time really to get into, so I'd suggest heading over to read this one as a starting point. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again Monday morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Ease, and to all of our awesome Patreon listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the Patreon listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today. Today.
One take, Shay. One take.